Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another review show. It's the turn of the Premier Division today. We did the first division last night, so check that out. You might have seen Keith there. Keith has got promoted today to the Premier Division. It's the only way Bray are going to go up. Isn't that right, Keith?
It's a bit harsh,
A little bit, but probably true, isn't it? Luke, what's the story? You well?
All good, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. Another good weekend of Premier Division action, I suppose. And we'll actually start off at Head Game Park. You were there. Drogheda United won, Derry City won. The second one I'll draw between both sides this season at Head Game. Akintunde, a couple of minutes before half time, and Rooney early in the second half made it 1-1. It's a good point for Drogheda. Keeps them ticking along after winning the other week as well. From Derry's point of view, look, it's probably disappointing because they're trying to, push up the table, and suddenly Pat's only 4 points behind them, which might make them a little bit nervous. But a draw was probably a fair result. I'm hearing, Luke. How did you see the game overall?
Yeah, look, I think, I'm happy enough with the point in the end, but I think, we lose to Harps 2 weeks ago or whatever, and, you return from that and you get 4 points. I think that's a good return. Yeah. It's a good reaction, you know what I mean? But to be honest with you, I think the first half is a really poor game. I think it's slow. I think it's real cagey. I don't really think either team wanted to, press forward or anything. I think Derry probably had the better chances in the first half, but they didn't really, they'd won really good chance with Patchen and when he went 1-on-1 with the keeper. But apart from that, they didn't really have anything else in the first half. Drogheda didn't really have anything in the first half either. They had a lot of crosses into the box. Drogheda that, if it fell the right, if it had a fallen, maybe there's a good chance there. There's a lot of half chances, where the ball wouldn't fall. But it was, and then half time, and then just before half time, then Derry, get the breakthrough. And I think, Evan Weir, he'll be disappointed with himself. And, he's so reliable. And, second half, he was excellent, which I'll talk about. But, it's not like him. I think he probably should have dealt with it better. And then Dummigan does really well to get the ball off him and then gets a good cross into the box. And Akintunde turns his defender and, places it into the bottom corner. So, you're 1-0. It's a kick in the teeth for Drogheda because I don't really think either team deserved to be probably leading the game at half time. But for Derry, they would have been pleased with that. But then Drogheda came out second half and, I'm sure Kevin got onto them at half time because it just, it was a quiet game, you know what I mean? Neither team was really playing great, but draw the second half. It was actually, I think the second half overall from both teams was probably the best second half of football I've probably watched this season. It was frantic, it was end to end. Both teams were getting in good areas, getting good chances. I think Drogheda obviously then get a free kick on the edge of the box. Dean Williams steps over and, it looks like it's going in, and then Brian Maher does really well to tip it over his bar. It's a really powerful shot. It's quite close in as well, so he done well there. And then obviously, I think Mark Connolly is very lucky to survive, not getting sent off. To be honest with you, again, I think he, first of all, he makes a challenge, gets a yellow card for it. 2 minutes later, he makes the exact same challenge. What? Do you know what I mean? You just expect it to be a red card because it's the same challenge that he got a yellow card for a few minutes earlier. He's jumping on Dean Williams' back.
If it happened 15 minutes earlier, he might have got the second yellow. Refs think like that in strange ways.
Yeah, which is stupid as well. Do you know what I mean? I think there was a lot of lack of consistency in decisions. I think, Akintunde goes down in the box and gets a yellow card for diving. And then second half, I think it might have been Graydon. It was one of the Derry players. Goes down in the box again, same sort of thing, looking for a penalty, and doesn't give a yellow card. It was just a lot that could, I've said it before in the show. There is a lack of consistency with the decisions. You know what I mean? Where you might get one of the decisions and then it's the same thing, but you won't get that one. You know what I mean? I do notice that, but then obviously Dale Rooney steps over a free kick, and just places it it's a ridiculous goal. I haven't seen a free kick like that in United Park in a long, long time, or Head Game Park, should I say. And then obviously 1-1, and then I think Evan Weir then does really well, gets a shot away. Brian Maher does really well, good save, and then the ball falls to Dale Rooney and he smacks it off the post, which was very unlucky. And I think Drogheda could have nicked it then, but then I think Derry could have nicked it as well because Evan Weir cleared one off the line. I don't think that was actually in the highlights, but Evan Weir does clear one off the line. I think a point was quite fair, but look, I'm happy enough with it. I think, if you had asked me if I take 4 points from Shells and Derry, I think I take it all day. So, good point for Drogheda.
Tell you what, Keith, There's a player for Drogheda who's actually surprised me this season. The season's gone on, he's improved. James Quinn. You remember him at Bray?
Andrew Quinn.
James Quinn. Sorry, Andrew Quinn. You remember him at Bray? Does that surprise you that he's done so well this season, or?
No, absolutely not. He was fantastic at Bray. He was one of our better players, and I was disappointed when he left the club after the playoffs. So, like, it was obviously a step up for him going into Premier Division football, and obviously he left Dundalk. So for him to be putting in the level of performances that he's putting in, it's great to see. And you know, it might be a thing that Drogheda might be lucky to hang on to him. You know, there's obviously bigger clubs in the league. There's no two ways about it, and they might have a look at him and say he'll fit in nice inside the half. You know, so fantastic player, and he's done so well for Drogheda this season. I know the couple of the opening games of the season he wasn't getting a look in, but he seems to be now. So no, fantastic player.
Yeah, it just took us a while to find a good position for him. I think, you know, we didn't really know his best position at the start because he came in and he played 1 or 2 games at right back. I think he made a few mistakes, to be quite honest. And then he might play centre half then. And since then, he's just been in the squad. And Andy is just so reliable, like, do you know what I mean? And I think he plays better when Keith Cowan's beside him, to be quite honest. You know, I think he does play a lot better when Keith Cowan's beside him. That sort of experienced head, you know what I mean, beside him. Like, you can see they work well together and they've a good partnership, you know.
Keith, I mean, Derry are third in the league now. Do you think, obviously Shamrock Rovers won as well, like I think that's gone. Any thoughts of challenging really for the title are gone, but do you think they'll be happy enough once they finish in the top 3 this season? Like,
I think Rory Higgins, like as you mentioned, Pats are only a couple of points behind them, so you know they need to stay on form, because you know if they drop out of the European places, Higgins will be in trouble, particularly with the investment they've had this season. So look, they've a game in hand on Dundalk, so they can go second with a win there. So, but yeah, I think Higgins, you know, the owners might look at it and say, listen, you need to be getting in the European places, because at the end of the day, that's where the money is. So, look, such a fantastic squad. And I know Kevin Doherty said it last week. He said, look at that squad. Like, I mean, they players here, there, and everywhere. Brandon Kavanagh, Michael Duffy, McElhenney, Graydon, you know, to name but a few. I think if they don't finish at least second, I think it's a disappointing season for Derry, given the start they had.
Yeah, interesting.
You look at the players they were bringing on. Like I seen the subs they're making. It was when they played and had in the game back earlier on the season, and they're bringing on Michael Duffy and all. I know Duffy started the game, but they were bringing on Brandon Kavanagh and Jamie McGonigal and all. And I'm just like, what? Like, and it was like, and I walked in, I see the lads are walking the pitch, and you just realise the squad they have. And then bringing in Mark Connolly and all, and it's mad.
You look at McGonigal. McGonigal has 10 goals this season, and Akintunde is keeping him out of the team. Yeah. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. No, it'll be interesting to see how they do. They'll definitely want to keep on to top 3, that's for sure. North Dublin Derby finished Shelbourne 1, Bohemians 1. Tyreek Wilson after 5 minutes, Farrell penalty after 55 minutes. I'm smiling because Tyreek Wilson scores and J.R. Wilson gets sent off. His brother, if anyone didn't know who's watching. Actually, funnily enough, Tyreek actually played right back in this game, which is very odd. He's very much a left-footed player, as we all know as well, and I don't think it suited him. I'd say he'd be the first to say as well, but he adapted well. He scored a good free kick, actually. Farrell equalised, as I said, the penalty in 55. We'll get onto that later, but this was feisty. I was at the game, and like it was a real old-fashioned Dublin derby, and I've seen criticism of the referees, and I'm sorry, but I thought he was brilliant. I mean, he more or less let things go. He let tackles go. When he had to step in, he gave yellow cards, a lot of yellow cards. There were a lot of yellow card challenges in the game. But it was great to see. You want to see that in a big derby, in any derby, but you know what I mean? Shelbourne Bows, fantastic to see. It really added intensity to the game. Bows started off very well with the free kick. And Shelbourne more or less took over actually in the game. The number of chances through Matty Smith, who was very good on the night, and Stephen Moylan were very good on the night. Didn't score. Then we have the red card from J.R. Wilson, which I thought was weird because when I first seen it, I wasn't 100% sure what happened so quickly as well. But when I seen the replay, I went, yeah. I mean, fair enough. There's no point. There's no need to.
You don't need to make that challenge.
No, there's no need to make a challenge. You don't just stay in your feet. Don't make the challenge. You're not getting a red card, and you're thinking, you know, he's after costing Shells here. Bowles should, you know, get second at least in this game. McDaid had a great chance actually for half time. He should have made it 2-0, and if he did, we might have a different story. But Shelbourne came out in the second half, and to be fair, Duff was brave with the selections, if you like. He, you know, he didn't go defensive, to be fair. And in the second half, like, I thought Shelbourne generally were the better side, and in the game had most of the better chances. Bowles at times passed it around quite smartly, but couldn't really create anything of real note. And then the penalty happens. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy about this. Personally, I think it's a penalty. I think Luke thinks otherwise, but I think it's not. First of all, I'll say it's not a Stonewall penalty, but it's not a Stonewall not penalty either. It's one of them where I can see why it's given for sure, because Moylan makes the most out of it. There's no doubt about that. You should make the most out of it. But I do think Kelly gets himself in a bit of bother, and as at the very least given the referee an excuse to give the penalty. He's the wrong side. Moylan has himself between Kelly and the ball, and Kelly comes in, and in my opinion, he does see him and make the challenge. Now, in my opinion, if he doesn't make any kind of challenge, stays on his feet, two things: either the ball goes out of play, or he might be able to get around the other side and, you know, block anything that Moylan might do. But ultimately, I think Shelbourne definitely deserved the points. Bowles will be the most disappointed. But yeah, how do you see it, Luke, after all? What's your stance on the penalty?
I don't think it was a penalty, to be honest. You know, I think... look, I agree with what you're saying about Kelly getting on the wrong side, and I think the defender has to do better. But I don't really think there's any significant contact. Like, I think you did mention Moylan makes the most of it. I think he does, but I don't think there's enough in it, to be quite honest. I just don't think there's enough in it for a penalty. But to be quite honest with you, I think the worst thing Bowes have done was letting leave Bowes and joining Shells. Moylan is a great player. Like, he's a great player, and he'd get into that Bowes team right now. Do you know what I mean? I was very surprised by that. Look, I know he was on loan with Wexford last season, wasn't it? Yeah.
This isn't even hindsight, Luke. Most people were surprised at the time. So I don't know what Bowes saw to let him go.
Yeah.
Because Bowes do play young players, and even raw young players, they often play them. So it's not as if...
I think they could deal with him right now, to be quite honest with you.
Very strange to let him go, and obviously a big gain for Shelbourne there, you know.
I'm very surprised. Yeah, I was very surprised by that one. I still am. Like, I still don't understand it. But look, you don't know what goes on at different clubs and all that. But to be honest, I think moving to Shells for Moylan was probably the better decision, to be quite honest. Like, and the way he's played this season for them, and the role that he's taken up, and the trust that Duff has in him, and all the coaching staff with Shells, like, must having him to be playing him every game, and to be, you know, he's getting goals and that, and I think there was question marks about him at the start of the season. Like he was shown potential, but now you can see he's starting to, you know, add numbers to his game, basically, you know. But on the game itself, look, Bowes start off really well. Tyreek Wilson is what he's capable of, isn't it? Really, like he scored, I think it was great free kicks against Pats last season as well. I remember Daily. You know, so he's capable of that, and it's probably it was probably bad from O'Driscoll to, you know, be fouling him on the edge of the box when he did. Because that's the sort of player you don't want stepping over a free kick, like, especially so close in. Yeah. So look, it's a good free kick, good start. Bowes have been delighted, but after that, Bowes done nothing. Like, didn't do an awful lot, like, you know. And I think Shells, like, everything was against them. They got a red card. A few lads gone off injured. Like, they were without Sean Boyd. I think that's to mention as well. Matty Smith done really well up top. Like, took up that road really well with Moylan. Like, so. Very disappointing for Bowes, because he just didn't do anything after scoring, and even when Shells got the red card early on, like, it didn't. Bowes still done nothing, like, do you know what I mean? And that's worrying. That's worrying for Bowes, because they've not been great the last couple of games. And this, like, you know, they're 1-0 up. You got Shells are down to 10 men. You just expect Bowes to take control of the game, and they didn't. I think if it wasn't for the Bowes keeper, it could have been a win for Shells. So that Bowes keeper looks very good, and he made some brilliant saves. Like,
that's very good to see. There's a few back passes played back to him that you wouldn't pick up unless you're there, obviously, and a few dodgy ones. Yeah. He controlled them very well, put that way. So he definitely looks an upgrade in Ty Ryan, let's say, for example.
Yeah, look, I think, look, it's nothing against Ty Ryan, but I think he's done well for Bowes up until the Dundalk game, you know what I mean? And I think that's why they've brought in your man McCracken. Like, so it's an interesting one, but look, he's done really well. He had a great game against Shells and probably kept them in it. So Bowes will be disappointed with that. But yeah, it's a decent result for Shells. Like everything was against them, as I said. So look, I think they'll take that point, and I think Duff was happy enough after the game with it as well. You know.
Yeah, Keith. I mean, Shelbourne should be happy enough with their season, as in, like, I know it's easy to say, you know, they're going to stay up, but that had to be the first thing. Maybe you think they should stay up, but it had to be the first thing because they've been gone for so long. Then when they get back, they went down again. So they have to. It's just a case of, and I do think they've improved actually as the season's gone on. So that's always a good sign, isn't it, for them as well, going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, investment, and I mean, Duffer tore the squad apart, didn't he? During the off season, so he brought in a lot of players, and he brought in his own players. So, look, he said it all along. This season was about surviving in the Premier Division. Now, with this season, they've been lucky because there are teams that are worse off than them in terms of quality. UCD, Harps, unfortunately, Drogheda as well would be one of those sides. So, I think next season with Shelbourne, it's all about pushing for Europe, and Duffer will bring a number of players in that he fancies as well. Look, in terms of the game, I think Keith Long will be absolutely disappointed. Shells are down to 10 men, you know, and you know when you're playing against 10 men, I know people say it's more difficult, but that's a cop out. You know, you're playing against 10 men, you should have space to dictate the play, and obviously Shells got the penalty. I agree with Luke. I think it was a dodgy enough penalty. If the referee's not sure, don't give it. If you're not 100% sure, do not give the penalty. And
maybe he was sure.
Maybe, like referee consistency has been a problem all season and even for the last couple of years. So it's. But I need to call this one out. Shane Farrell, he's kind of gone under the radar a bit at Shelbourne, given the form of Moylan and Sean Boyd. I think Shane Farrell.
Don't give him a big head, Keith. He watches this show sometimes.
Yeah, he's a big fan.
I think he's a fantastic player, and you know, to step up and put the penalty away in such a big game, and make it 1-1. So, like, the Bows would be disappointed, Shells be delighted, and you could see Duffer's reaction at the end, running over. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous, to be honest with you. But you know,
ridiculous interview as well after the game.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Duff's interview after the game, guys, watch it. Yeah, but just on that point, Keith, you made the cop out about up against 10 men. The fact that Shelbourne didn't actually retreat either in the game meant the Bows should have had spaces. You know what I mean? Shelbourne were brilliant in defending when they had to, but they didn't get everyone behind the ball. They actually did try and win the game, like it really did. And you're right, actually, Farrell. There's a few other players as well, particularly Shelbourne's side. Farrell went back to right back and he was excellent there. Gavin Malloy never played centre back. He was brilliant at centre back.
The thing about Farrell, sorry Keith to interrupt you, but see the thing about Farrell, right? He started the game in a more defensive position against Drogheda last week. And to be honest with you, he looked like the only player for Shells that night that was gonna, you know, cause Drogheda problems. Like, you know what I mean? He was the only one who was. And I think Duff mentioned that in his interview after the game against Drogheda, that Shane Farrell was the only one. And there's a reason that they sing his name is because he was the only one who looked like he was gonna cause Drogheda any problems that night. You know what I mean? And you know, he's come on this whole season. He just seems to be continuously getting better. And I know you said he's probably going to give him a big head because he's a big fan of the show. But
well, that's all right. We'll criticize him next week.
Serious player.
We'll have a go at him next week. No, Malloy was brilliant as well. He went back to centre back and he was absolutely brilliant. He never plays there either. So because Luke Byrne went off as well, and O'Driscoll went off with a bad head injury. Luckily he's okay now. Yeah. And Luke Byrne went off with a hamstring injury. So that's why Bows, all those things combined, Bows should be very disappointed. And I think that ends their chase in Europe already, to be honest, which is extremely disappointing for Bows. But
I think it was gone earlier, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think so, but it almost confirms it.
I think Keith, before you move on, it was a bit of an energy charged game. You know, obviously Bows had the loss of the volunteer during the week. So you know, for them to get anything out of the game, like it was difficult and I'm sure it was difficult for the players to motivate themselves and stuff like that. You know, with such a heartbreaking thing to hear. So yeah, like I mean, they move on, but a tough out week for Bows. Like
very tough, yeah.
Definitely for Bows, absolutely. Just to note quickly that fundraiser for Derry Monaghan's gone very, very well. Last time I checked, it was on 60,000. So that's at least something, like, you know what I mean. So
that's great. Yeah.
Absolutely. So at Belfield Bowl, since UCD wants to bash leg 2, Timmermans after 8, and Serge after 51, Dylan Duffy after 60. Interesting one about this. First of all, Pats got the 3 points, which was brilliant for them, and it moves from 7 ahead of Sligo, and it kind of puts them in the conversation possibly for top 3. We'll revisit that maybe, but UCD can be a tricky team, and you just have to go out and beat them. And for Pat's point of view, that's the 4th time they've beaten them this season. The likes of Sligo, as an example, haven't beaten them this season, so that's a big switch, if you like. Interestingly, though, I have to say, now it worked out. But interestingly, Tim Clancy made a lot of changes, a decent amount of changes to the game, rotated it a little bit. Left out the likes of Adam O'Reilly, say Owen Doyle and players like that. And some people would say that was a bit risky because Pats don't play till it's Friday and then the Monday week. But it worked out, you know what I mean? Ultimately, they won it quite comfortably in the end. They probably could have had a few more goals. Again, UCD's defending, they'll cost them big time this game. I don't know, the first goal, like Serge has to be there, he scores it, but it's a mess in defence again. Reminded me of the Sligo goal actually the other week, didn't it? Very similar. And even the Timmermans goal, I mean, hits off the post and there's a bit of bobbling and Timmerman just heads it in. And UCD have to be very disappointed. It's all right to say when you come up against better sides to get beaten, but don't shoot yourself in the foot. It's a killer. And I think from UCD's point of view, they did that in this game. And but from Pat's point of view, as I said, a good result, job done, 3 points. 4 points behind Derry, Luke. Can they scare them?
You know, yeah, of course they can, because Derry dropped points and, you know, Sligo obviously lost. Like, so, you know, and I don't really think it's going to be plain sailing for Derry and Sligo for now. Like, I think if anyone is going to sort of, I think that top 4 is going to have Pats, Derry. It's obviously going to be Rovers, Dundalk, Derry, Pats, maybe. You know what I mean? I think it'll be that 4. It might be different orders, but I think that is going to be the 4 at the end of the season that, you know, have the chance of playing in Europe. But look, to be quite honest, it's just 3 points. It's a big 3 points for Pats because, as you mentioned, the changes that Tim made, and it's a risk, and you know, and it worked off. And look, it might not have, and you know, people be on his back then. But look, it worked. You know what I mean? And it's a good win. Like, and I always say, like, no matter how you go to the likes of UCD and you win, just win the game. It doesn't matter how you do it, just do it. Like, do you know what I mean? And they done it. And look, they would have been pleased with their start. And obviously, like, you know, I think obviously UCD got a goal back, and you know, fair play, they didn't give up. But I think the quality of Pats sort of got them through that game. You know what I mean? And it was a big win. And obviously, the defending for the second goal is just, it's dreadful. Like, it's just dreadful.
The
fullback has got to be back.
Or the goalkeeper.
You can blame both of them. It's pretty similar to the Sligo one. You know what I mean? You can't blame both of them. They need to be about aware, like, you know what I mean? Of so the keeper has to be aware of what he's coming out to, and then the defender also has to be aware of the ball and the goalkeeper coming out. Do you know what I mean? It is a tough one. I actually think it's a tough one on the defender, but you know, he probably has to do better himself. But easy for Serge again. You know what I mean? Another good finish, and he probably could have scored them after that.
He scores them every week.
He will. He will, but he could have got another one after.
Yeah,
he probably should have scored it. Keeper done well, but he probably should be scoring that. It's pretty sad. That is pretty much Serge. Like, at the minute, you know what I mean? He's getting into good areas, but it's just that clinical side.
He's an uncompromising player, isn't he? Like, he's clearly got a lot of pace, but you're not exactly sure what he's got to do when he has the ball. That can be good, and it can be bad. And only maybe time will tell which way it'll go. But he's obviously scored 3 goals since
I think he's a good player. I do think he's a good player. Like, I think he's getting in the right areas, and you know, more games, more confidence, more goals. The way he's getting them will give him confidence that, you know, he is getting in the right areas, and he will get that bit of luck from the defender or the goalkeeper. You know what I mean? And obviously, he got the luck in CSKA. He got a bit of luck against Sligo, and he got a bit of luck against UCD. So he's getting the luck. He just needs to, you know, the more tougher ones, you know, he's got to put them away, and you know, he'll get more confidence in that. But composure, exactly. So look, he looks a good player, and you know, you can see he has quality. So yeah, good win for Pat, especially with the other 2 teams dropping points. It's big for them, you know.
Yeah, Keith, that's for UCD. Like, they're 2 points now behind Harps again. They seem to be switching every week, actually, don't they? And I suppose disappointing for them in the sense that they beat Harps last week, but maybe not as disappointing that they lost to Pats, more that they'd be disappointed if Harps actually beat Sligo, if you know what I mean. But from their point of view, like, it was very sloppy defending. They kind of handed Pats at least a goal, you'd have to say, and you can't be doing that, really, can you?
No, and in this league, you'll be punished, you know, and obviously they were punished twice for really bad mistakes. The header for the first goal comes across the box, hits the post, and then there's no reaction from any UCD player, and there's a couple of pass players that could actually put the ball in the net. So, and then, you know, the second goal, like, I mean, it's criminal, you know. As Luke said, there's no
long ball, I might add, as well. It's not even like a brilliant pass through or something, let's say. It's a
100%. There was no communication there, which is a major issue, you know, and there's no communication there. But in fairness to say that at the Koi, if he's not in that position, he doesn't score the goal. So, you know, kudos to him, you know, and he's been in that position a couple of times this season. So, look, it's like a bit of a ladder, isn't it, Keith? Like, Harps go up and then they come down. UCD go up and then they go down, you know. So, I think it's going probably till the end of the season. It's going to be like that. And I can't really call who's going to be finishing bottom. I think both sides are just as equally as. And you know, if UCD don't get the communication skills back on form, they will struggle. And you know, it's a tough place to go. And Pats have four wins over UCD this season, and they've been by the odd goal, so they haven't been easy games looking at it on paper. But you know, 4 wins and UCD Bowl's a tough place to go. Fair play to Pats, cemented 4th place. And yeah, you're dead right. They are within a show of European places.
You know, be smiling away if you heard that. Finished Finn Harps 3, Sligo Rovers 2 in one of the Northwest derbies. I won't say the Northwest derby, but it was actually kind of a comfortable enough one for Finn Harps, because they were 2-1 up and 3-1 up. Barry McNamee was a brilliant goal, wasn't it? Just laces, he kind of digs it out in the first game. Fantastic goal. Rainey 36, Connolly 68, 2 goals from Keena, 2 penalties in the game as well. Luke, you saw everything more or less in this game as such. Like, I only seen the Finn Harps goals. So, yeah, what did you think? What did you think of the penalties? Were they penalties in your opinion?
I think Finn Harps one is it's a tough call, but I think it is a penalty. You know, I think the lad just gets in front of him and then sort of gets a nick, and you can actually see in the background the Sligo substitute running onto the pitch to get out. It's brilliant, actually. You can see the lines and just telling him, get off, will you? And then I think Ryan Connolly deserves to be sent off. He's on a yellow card. He's stupid challenge. We're like, what are you doing? Like, do you know what I mean? Seriously, like it's.
Yeah, because it couldn't have, like, wasn't it? Like, you know, I mean, it was an avenue for Sligo to get back into the game that they didn't deserve anything from.
Yeah, and then obviously they got a penalty, which I think, you know, it looked like it was going to be a 50-50, and then it didn't really turn into a 50-50 between the lad. They ended up kicking him in the box, like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, probably a penalty, and there was no, you know, real. The Finn Harps players weren't really looking for anything else, like, you know what I mean? They didn't really give out much about it, like, and so I think it was a penalty. So yeah, look, I think, and then obviously Ollie Horgan actually got sent off as well, in the 12th minute or something. 12th minute, like, yeah, I think it was something like that, because I watched it there just before coming on the show, and you can see he gets the yellow card and then he's clapping at the official, at the referee, like.
He waits to the 80th.
Referee turns his back and just hears him and just, seriously, get off, will you? Like, what are you doing? Like, he doesn't do himself any justice at all.
I did see some of the photos, but I didn't realise it was in the first, 15 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't think it was happy.
Seen them.
Yeah, look, seeing though, they actually cut the stream onto him in the Sligo crowd, walking by them, like. But yeah, look, on the game itself, look, very comfortable for Harps, as you said. I think Sligo just were, like, dreadful. Like, not good enough. Just not good enough.
Aren't they? They're a really funny team, and it's going to be very difficult for them to qualify for Europe. Like, there's no way to finish in the top 3. I honestly don't think they're finishing past Pats either. I simply think Pats are better side.
I don't think they will either. No.
So,
and look, Barry McNamee, great goal. And then obviously they got a good header. Then I think Ryan Rainey scores the second one to corner. Keeper comes out. He has to do better, you know. Sligo keeper, serious questions about him. I don't know about him. Like, you know, he's made a few mistakes in the last few weeks. You know what I mean?
And I think the fact that they had Ed McGinty might even make him look worse. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah, look, it does, because Ed McGinty doesn't make any of them mistakes. You know what I mean? And Ed McGinty was so commanding. Like, he would have came out and, you know, he'd win the ball, but he'd take a few lads with him. Do you know what I mean? Because he was so strong and he was so tall, and you know, he's just a good keeper. Like, but and then obviously the third goal as well. Look, it's a penalty, obviously, but yeah, look, good win for Harps. You know, if I was a Harps fan, I still wouldn't be getting too excited, because Finn Harps are liable just to go out and get turned over next week. So I know it's cup, but like I'm saying, the next league game. So they've just got to be careful, you know what I mean, that to not get too high about this one. But it's a great 3 points, and they needed it, you know what I mean. They needed to win the game, like so. And they need to keep winning games, but to catch, obviously, to get a bit closer to Drogheda. But look, good 3 points for Harps, but for Sligo, it really makes it difficult for them to get into these European spots. I just don't think they have the quality to do it, to be quite honest.
Keith, I mean, you spoke about UCD there, but Finn Harps, I do sense that the Finn Harps are more likely to pick up 1 or 2 wins maybe than UCD are. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just experience.
I don't think it's even that, Keith. I think it's Ballybofey is a lot tougher to go to than UCD Bowl, you know. Particularly on winter nights, you know. I know it's summer, but like you go there and it's bucketing down rain and the pitch is heavy and stuff. It's a tough old place to go. And I think you're right. I think they'll pick up a few more points than UCD because of that reason. Not necessarily quality that they're better than UCD. I just think it's a tough old place to go. And some of the teams like
maybe keep the experience Ollie Horgan as well in those positions also, maybe more so as well.
Yeah, you think that, but like they haven't picked up the points this season that they would have hoped from the experience that he has. So, you know, they seem to be always in a relegation battle. There's never any we're safe with 5 games to go or whatever. So yeah, I think Harps will just about finish 9th, but I do know, and I will say this, and you'll take it, record it, whatever. I think the playoffs, the first division team beats them in the playoff final.
I don't know. I think it's going to be like it is hard. It depends who it is, obviously, but it's going to be tough. Like you just don't know with the first division teams what way they're going to approach it. You know what I mean? Like obviously they'll have to go for it, whatever it's a one-off game or whatnot. But you know,
I always think you don't know in your own head. I'm going to say don't know. You can't until the week it comes, and you know what I mean. Like you see,
you thought you could trust. See, obviously Cork most likely going to win the league now. They're a good few points ahead. You thought you could trust Galway. But I can't trust Galway. Do you know what I mean? And
you know that kind of way. It's going to be interesting. It'll save this bit.
It'll be interesting.
So Finn Shamrock Rovers 3, Dundalk 0 at Tallaght Stadium on Sunday, and this was a statement result, I think, for Shamrock Rovers. Obviously, on the back of a trip to Ferencváros where things didn't go well, but because things didn't go well, it almost, I think, you know, mentally got them in for this game because they're out at tie. Let's be fair, and they've got the Conference League and stuff like that. But it kind of reminded people, we kept saying Dundalk and Derry, particularly Dundalk's a little bit closer, that they could they kind of just hang on Shamrock Rovers all the European games and all. I think Rovers reminded people, look, we're the best team in the league, end of story. Like, and I know Dundalk fans said that they had some chances and they did in the game. Manus made some good saves, but they had a lot of possession. But the crucial thing is Shamrock Rovers let them have a lot of possession. And Bradley was very clever because I don't think Dundalk expected to go to Tallaght Stadium seeing Shamrock Rovers allowing them to have possession. Now, there could be a couple of things in here. Fatigue. So let them have possession, sit back, soak it up a little bit. But also, I saw, Luke, do you remember I was speaking a couple of weeks ago and I saw Dundalk play Bowls and I said that Dundalk were open at the back in terms of balls over the top and stuff. And Bowls were just terrible in their time in the passes. They looked like in the highlights to me that they did the same thing as Shamrock Rovers, but they got punished basically. Gaffney for the first goal.
Yeah.
Brilliant, to be fair. Slots it over the green, 1-0. Second goal similar because of a high line that Rovers took advantage of. Towell makes it 2. And Gaffney obviously finally makes it 3. And I just think with Dundalk, Connolly's a huge loss. But when you've Boyle out as well, it's a massive loss. And Rovers really took advantage of that. When you're playing a high line and you've got Bowen and McCourt centre back, it's not really going to work very well if you've got the players to take advantage of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's very, very like it's just Shamrock Rovers, isn't it? Like it's I don't really think there's any other way of putting it. It's just Shamrock Rovers and how good they are. Like, do you know what I mean? It really shows like the levels, you know what I mean, that they're at compared to the other teams in the league. And look, I thought Dundalk were I predicted Dundalk to win this game. How stupid do I look? But to be quite honest, like that just, again, if you had any slight doubts about Shamrock Rovers, I'm not saying anyone did, that just gets rid of that straight away, you know what I mean? They're going to be champions again, you know what I mean? And they deserve it, do you know what I mean? Because they're just so good. Like, you coming off the back of a tough night in Hungary, you know, a 4-0 loss, dominated by Ferencváros. You know, mistakes at the back by Rovers. Overall, just not good. They just didn't play well that night. To go down and play a team who's full of confidence, who, you know, haven't lost really in a while. When was the last time Dundalk actually lost?
Generally very good defence. To Drogheda, funny enough, Luke.
Which was at the start of July. Like,
he knew that, didn't he, Keith?
I didn't actually. No, I didn't. By the way, I didn't. Before I get people in the comments, I didn't. No, look, it's. I think the defending is terrible with Dundalk. Like, terrible. I actually think the first goal, like Gaffney. I never really thought of Gaffney as like the fastest player in the world, but he made it look. He made it look so easy. Like, he just hit a different pace. I've never seen anything like it, and he just ran down the line. And then I think it was Robbie McCourt that dived in and just like, I don't know what he was doing, like, but he completely missed him. Anyway, it's like it was like, because I think he actually got a yellow card for it. After the goal was given, like, but yeah, look, and then obviously I think Alfie Lewis then slid in, I think, and completely missed him as well. Like, so easy goal for Rovers. Like, they just made Dundalk, you know, defensively look really poor. Like, and you could, obviously they missing Boyle, and obviously they lost Connolly. Like, and you could tell, like, because them two together were just working so well. Like, two of them were just so solid and reliable. So when you take that out of a team, it is going to be tough. Like, and look, I've been the first to give Dundalk credit this season, but that was terrible defending them 3 goals. And they're all similar goals. Like, do you know what I mean? 3 similar goals, and yeah, fair play to Shamrock Rovers. Brilliant.
It helped Dundalk, in fairness, that Robbie McCourt was forced off after 26 minutes. So
yeah, exactly.
That completes the defence big time. But the issue is, I've noticed in the last few weeks, even with Boyle playing and that, I noticed the big time against Bows, and I noticed it against Derry, particularly in the first half. I said, without Connolly there, and this high line is starting to come into effect again. And with Bone in there, like, he can't turn. He can't make those turns that you need to make. And I just wonder in the next couple of weeks, our team's going to really, like, O'Donnell personally, Keith, has to come up with a different solution. And if he has to drop a bit deep, maybe he needs to as well, because you just never know. I'm not saying they're going to finish outside the top 4. They really should stay in the top 4, but you do need to be careful, like, you know what I mean? And I just wonder if clubs are really going to start to play. And that Bows did, but they just didn't take advantage, as I said. It's something to watch for Dundalk, though, isn't it? But I suppose for Dundalk, Keith, as well, though, the fact is, I wouldn't be too critical overall, because second in the league is fantastic this season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Keith, if you haven't got players with pace, you can't play a high line, because you're going to be crucified, absolutely crucified. And it just, if you looked at the stats for this game, you didn't see the highlights. 66% possession for Shamrock or Dundalk, and Shamrock Rovers win 3-0. It's an absolute. It's a Bradley masterclass. It really is. You know, all 3 goals, as Luke said, all 3 goals are exactly the same. Down the wing, cross it in, and goal. You know, and Gaffney, you mentioned Gaffney's pace. Gaffney's a tall player, and he has that stride as well. You know, so for every 1 stride a regular player would have, Gaffney would probably have 2. So,
and he does it out of nowhere, Keith. You're kind of going, what's he doing here? Like, he just does that out of games out of nowhere, and you kind of go, yeah, every time I see it, you think, this fella's like a gazelle at times, like, you know.
Do you know what? Like, himself and Owen Doyle came back from the UK, and he's far superior to Owen Doyle, in my opinion. Goal scoring, holding the ball up, you know, he adds so much
pace. Doyle has no pace, I have to say, like, you know.
He adds so much to Shamrock Rovers, and like, I think it's league over. It's like the first division league is over. 9 games to go. Rovers are 7 points ahead with a game in hand. That's it, done and dusted. No other teams catching them.
And they're actually in a good position now going in from the Conference League games, because they've got that buffer. And I'd actually argue that 4 wins might do it for them.
Yeah. Look, if they can get them 4 wins as soon as they can, then they can concentrate on the Conference League and concentrate on Europe. I think we mentioned coming off the bench with Derry earlier on. Look at who came off the bench with Rovers: Jack Byrne, Sean Kavanagh, Amaku, Ferrugia. You know, like, what a squad they have as well. You know, and it bodes well for them going into European games to have such a big squad. with
They
talented
could do it in
players.
the cup though, couldn't they? Realistically, like they could do without being in the cup. Do you know what I mean?
They're playing Drogheda in case anyone's
I know.
watching.
I know.
Yeah, in case anyone's watching.
Could, like, I'm just saying,
Cup
if Bradley's watching it, maybe he could just,
yeah.
Just saying.
They might do you a
Just saying.
favour. They might do you a favour.
Maybe.
And that bombshell, I think we leave it there, guys. We will be back for the FAI Cup preview show as well. Let us know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit your bell notification button. And thanks again for watching. Cheers, lads.